Serena Lynn sat behind her desk without even lifting her head. Her tone was flat, as if she were talking about the weather. Starting next month, your salary will be cut by 60%. I stood in front of her, tightly holding the resignation letter I had spent 3 days writing. I forced down the shock and anger in my chest. Reason? Only then did she raise her head. Her gaze was cold, as if she were looking at a stranger. You offended my assistant. Marcus Zhao said you embarrassed him in the meeting room yesterday. Liam Lee, you're making things very difficult for me. I laughed. Not bitterly. I laughed because it was absurd. My wife of 3 years was cutting my salary by 60% for the sake of a male assistant. Serena Lynn, are you sure you want to do this? My decision is final. She placed the pen heavily on the desk. That crisp sound was like a blade falling from a guillotine. Cold. Merciless. Either accept the pay cut, or leave. The word leave slipped from her mouth so lightly. Like she was chasing away an annoying fly. I stood there, motionless. She looked at me quietly, waiting for me to lower my head and compromise. For the past 3 years, I had endured everything. She wanted me to work as an ordinary employee, so I accepted it without complaint. She forbade me from touching woodcarving, so I buried that passion deep in my heart. She wanted me to stay low profile in her company, so I stayed so low profile that even the cleaning lady thought I was a new hire. But today, I no longer wanted to swallow my pride. Serena, are you trying to drive me away? Yes. She leaned back in her chair and crossed her hands elegantly on the desk. That composed posture made it look as if she were negotiating a guaranteed profit. Liam, you should understand. Once you leave me, you are nothing. Really? I slowly took the resignation letter from my pocket and placed it on her desk. My voice was firm. Perfect. I don't want to work here anymore either. She clearly froze. She had not expected me to be so decisive. Are you insane? She frowned, eyes filled with disbelief. Do you know how many people would kill to enter my company? You didn't even graduate from college. If you leave this place, if I leave this place, I'll still survive. I interrupted her without mercy. And I'll live better than I do now. Her expression turned ugly instantly. It was not guilt. It was humiliation turning into anger. Fine, Liam Lee. You've got guts. She sneered, eyes full of challenge. I'd like to see how long you can last. I did not respond. I turned toward the door. When I reached it, I stopped. Serena, there's one thing I want to ask you. Say it. When did you and Marcus Zhao start? In that instant, the air seemed to freeze. I looked back at her. Her expression stiffened for half a second. Then she quickly forced herself calm. What do you mean by that? Yesterday, I went to your office to find you. The door wasn't fully closed. I looked directly into her eyes and said word by word, I saw everything. Her face turned deathly pale. Then flushed red. Then turned a deep, ugly blue. What about me? I leaned lazily against the doorframe. My tone was so calm that even I was surprised. Serena, we are legally married. But in these 3 years, you never treated me like your husband. Liam, listen to me explain, no need. I waved lightly, my face indifferent. I'll have my lawyer draft the divorce agreement. You only need to sign it. Are you crazy? She suddenly stood. Her heels hit the floor sharply, like nails scraping across a blackboard. Liam Lee, do you even know what you're saying? You have nothing. What right do you have to ask me for a divorce? What right? I slowly walked back to her desk and picked up the pen lying there. It was a gift I had bought for her birthday. More than 3,000 yuan. I had saved 3 full months of salary to afford it. Because I no longer want to be your accessory. I put the pen into my pocket. This pen, I'm taking back. Consider it payment for the past 3 years. For all the lies I helped you cover. For all the wine I drank for you. For all the times I dealt with your parents on your behalf. Liam. I ignored her shout and walked straight out of the office. The moment I stepped outside, I heard something crash behind me. Then came the sound of glass shattering. Just like our marriage. Full of cracks. Now completely broken. In the corridor, I ran into Marcus Zhao. When he saw me, the corner of his mouth lifted in a mocking smile. Well, brotherly, leaving already? I stayed silent. I did not answer him. I heard your salary got cut. He deliberately raised his voice, gloating. Ah, I'm sorry about that. I didn't expect President Lin to give me so much face. I looked at him quietly. He wore a sharp suit. His leather shoes were polished to a shine. Compared with me in cheap street market clothes, he did look much more respectable. Marcus Zhao. You'd better pray you never fall into my hands in this life. He froze for a second. Then burst out laughing. Liam Lee, are you threatening me? Not a threat. I patted his shoulder lightly and looked into his eyes. A preview. After saying that, I left without looking back. The moment I walked out of the company building, my phone rang. I looked at the caller ID. It was Mr. Wang. He was the boss of a rival company. He had tried to recruit me 3 times before. I had rejected him every time. Only because Serena had once said that if I dared go to a competitor, she would divorce me. Now, there was no need for her to say it. I answered immediately. Mr. Wang, about the terms you offered me before, I accept. The other end went silent for 2 seconds. Then Mr. Wang's hearty laughter rang out. Liam, you finally figured it out. I figured it out. I looked at the glass curtain wall of the company building. The sunlight stung my eyes. I'll report to you tomorrow. Good. 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 Mr. Wang said, good, 3 times in a row. Don't worry. I'll double your annual salary. Project commissions are counted separately. And the technical director position has been reserved for you. Thank you, Mr. Wang. Thank me for what? You were always worth that price. After hanging up, I took a deep breath and tried to calm my excitement. But just then, my phone rang again. Serena. I stared at the screen. After a moment, I did not answer. She called again. I still did not answer. Then a message came in. Liam, don't be impulsive. Come back. Let's talk. I glanced at it and put my phone back into my pocket. Impulsive? I was not impulsive. I was finally awake. 3 years ago, before my father died, he solemnly passed our ancestral woodcarving craft to me. He held my hand and said, son, this craft has been passed down for 300 years. Don't let it break in your hands. My eyes had turned red. I gripped his hand tightly and promised, Dad, don't worry. I'll carry it forward. But Serena did not like it. Once, she said with disgust, woodcarving? How much money can that make? A grown man holding carving knives every day, what does that even look like? Under her complaints and dissatisfaction, I helplessly put away my carving knives. I locked the wood in the basement. I forced myself to become the so-called normal man she wanted. And what did I get in the end? She cheated on me. With her male assistant. She cut my salary by 60%. All because I had offended that assistant. I stood alone by the road, watching cars come and go. Headlights flashed. My heart felt colder than winter. Suddenly, I felt like a fool. A fool who had been stupid for 3 full years. At that moment, my phone rang again. This time, it was an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? A polite, professional voice came from the other end. May I ask if this is Mr. Liam Lee? Yes. I'm the HR director of Tiangong Group. We heard you are interested in joining us. I froze. Tiangong Group? Wasn't that Mr. Wang's rival? I quickly said, I'm sorry, I already agreed to Mr. Wang's offer. Mr. Wang? The other person laughed. Mr. Lee, you may not know this yet. Mr. Wang's company is Tiangong Group. I was momentarily speechless. We heard you resigned, so we called to confirm. Mr. Wang said that as long as you come, you may name your terms. Name my terms. My hand tightened around the phone. A confidence I had never felt before surged through me. Good. I'll report tomorrow. We look forward to having you. After hanging up, I looked back at the building. Through the floor-to-ceiling window, I saw Serena standing there, watching me. A layer of glass separated us. I could not see her expression clearly. But I guessed she must be shocked. Shocked that the man she thought was nothing had companies fighting over him too. I smiled at her. There was relief in that smile. And confidence. Then I turned and walked into the crowd. My phone vibrated again. Still Serena. Don't think going to Tiangong means anything. They only want to use you to disgust me. My fingers moved quickly over the screen. So what? Her reply came fast. You'll regret this. I replied, I do regret it. I regret wasting 3 years of my life on you. After sending that message, I blocked her. Then I hailed a taxi. Driver, Tiangong Tower. The car started. The scenery outside flew backward like slides. I leaned against the seat and closed my eyes. My mind kept replaying what I had seen yesterday. Serena and Marcus in that office. She sat sweetly on his lap. He held her waist gently. Both of them smiled happily. That smile was so bright. I had waited 3 years and had never once seen it directed at me. When she faced me, she was always cold. Either disgusted or impatient. I had foolishly thought she was simply tired from work. Now I understood. She simply did not love me. Young man, we're here. The driver's voice pulled me back. I opened my eyes, paid, and got out. Before me stood Tiangong Tower. 66 floors. Twice as tall as Serena's company building. I stood beneath it, looked up briefly, then walked in with firm steps. The receptionist saw me and immediately stood. Are you Mr. Liam Lee? Yes. Mr. Wang is waiting for you on the top floor. Please follow me. I followed her into the elevator. As the floor numbers jumped upward, my heartbeat accelerated. It was not nervousness. It was excitement. For the past 3 years, I had lived like a clown. Starting today, I would find myself again. When the elevator doors opened, Mr. Wang was already waiting. Liam. He strode over and gripped my hand tightly. Welcome, welcome. You're too polite, Mr. Wang. Don't call me Mr. Wang. He laughed loudly. Call me Old Wang. Come. Let's talk in my office. Tea had already been brewed. Liam, I'll be direct. Mr. Wang went straight to the point. I'm very interested in that woodcarving craft you have. If it can be mass-produced, it will be a huge market. It can't be mass-produced. I shook my head seriously. Woodcarving depends on pure handwork. Once it's mass-produced, the soul is gone. Then what is your idea? High-end custom work. I lifted the teacup and took a sip. 1 piece for 1 client. Every piece unique. Mr. Wang's eyes lit up. Go on. I have 3 old clients. They were all built up by my father while he was alive. They've always been waiting for me to start working again, but before, I wasn't free. And now? Now I am. I set the cup down, voice firm. Completely free. Mr. Wang smiled with satisfaction. Good. Then it's settled. He slapped the desk. Funds, venue, workers, I'll handle all of it. You only provide the skill. We split the profit 50-50. 60-40. I said seriously. You take 60. I take 40. Why? Because you're providing the venue, funds, and people. I'm only providing technique. It wouldn't be right for me to take too much. Mr. Wang looked at me with admiration. Liam, I didn't expect you to be even more honest than your father. My father taught me from childhood that a man must have conscience. Good. Mr. Wang extended his hand. Then 60-40. Happy cooperation. I shook his hand. In that moment, strength surged into my chest. It was the strength of taking control of my life again. When I left Tiangong Tower, night had fallen. I stood by the road and looked at the flashing lights. Once, one of those lights had been my warm harbor. Now, everything had changed. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was my apprentice, Owen Wang. Master, I heard you resigned. Then will you keep practicing with those ancestral carving knives? I touched my pocket subconsciously. Only then did I remember that the pen had already been taken back from Serena. But my carving knives were still in the basement. Sealed away for 3 full years. Yes. I said firmly. Starting tomorrow, I'll practice every day. That's great. Owen's voice was so excited it changed pitch. Master, can I follow you and learn carving? Yes. Really? Of course. After hanging up, I hailed another taxi. Driver, Xingfu Garden Residential Compound. That was the house Serena and I bought when we married. But now, it was no longer my home. I went back only for one thing. My ancestral woodcarving knives. I pushed open the door quietly. The house was dark. Serena had not returned. I went straight to the basement and opened the wooden chest covered in dust. The carving knives lay inside quietly, one beside another, arranged neatly. My father had said this set of knives had been passed down for 6 generations. Every blade carried the sweat of our ancestors. I picked up the flat knife I used most often. The handle had been polished smooth from years of use. The blade was still sharp. Dad, your son was unfilial. I disappointed you for 3 years. But starting today, I won't disappoint you again. I carefully packed the knives and turned to leave. When I reached the door, it suddenly opened. Serena stood outside, her face full of exhaustion. When she saw me, she froze. You came back? I came to get something. Liam, let's talk properly. There's nothing to talk about. Do you have to be this heartless? Her voice trembled. Our 3 years of marriage you're giving up so easily? 3 years of marriage? I laughed coldly. When you cheated, did you think about those 3 years? When you cut my salary, did you think about those 3 years? That was, when you humiliated me in front of everyone, did you think about those 3 years? She fell silent instantly. Enough. I moved past her. I'll have someone send over the divorce agreement. Just sign it. Liam. I stopped. She questioned me, after leaving me, where can you even go? There are many places I can go. I turned back and looked at her. At least they're better than staying beside you. You, Serena, I wish you happiness. After saying that, I walked out. The door closed slowly behind me. I heard her suppressed sobbing. But I did not turn back. Some roads, once taken wrong, must be corrected quickly. Some people, once loved wrong, must be let go decisively. I took out my phone and messaged Mr. Wang. Old Wang, I officially start tomorrow. Good. See you tomorrow. The corner of my mouth lifted. I looked up. The stars that night were exceptionally bright. Just like something my father once said, son, life isn't afraid of starting over. It's afraid you don't have the courage to try. Now, I had that courage. What about you? Wood shavings curled from beneath the blade, carrying the clean fragrance of pine. I sat on the floor of my rented apartment. Before me lay the ancestral carving knives. After 3 years untouched, the cord around the handles had loosened a little. But the blades were still sharp. My phone rang. It was Mr. Wang. Liam, have you registered your company yet? I just submitted the documents. Waiting for approval. Don't wait. I have a client in a hurry. Mr. Wang's voice was full of excitement. That pine and crane longevity piece you mentioned before, can you make it? Yes. Size? The client wants it 60 centimeters tall. The base also needs cloud patterns. I glanced at the old pine wood I had brought from the basement yesterday. The size was perfect. No problem. I can deliver in 3 days. 3 days? Mr. Wang was clearly stunned. Liam, don't push yourself. This is delicate work. Most masters would need at least a week. I don't use an ordinary master's method. I picked up the flat knife and measured against the wood. My father taught me a faster technique. The other end stayed silent for several seconds. Fine. 3 days it is. I'll give the client a firm answer. After a pause, he added, as for the price, I negotiated 80,000. 80,000. At Serena's company, after a month of exhausting work, I only took home 6,000. Thank you, old Wang. Thank me for what? You're worth it. After hanging up, I put the phone aside and picked up the carving knife. The moment the blade touched wood, my whole body quieted. It felt like a drowning man finally breaking the surface and finding air. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Then I opened them and made the first cut. The first cut followed the wood grain, shaving away unnecessary parts bit by bit. The second cut brought out the rough shape of the crane. The third cut opened its face and gave it spirit. The blade turned lightly in my hand. It entered the wood with precision. Flying shavings fell like snow. Only one thought circled in my mind: what had I been doing for the past 3 years? For a woman who did not love me, I locked away the craft I was best at. For a wife who betrayed me, I turned myself into a complete nobody. Master, your technique is incredible. Owen's amazed voice came through my phone. I had opened a video call so he could watch my carving process. Watch closely. At this part, the blade must move at an angle. You can't cut straight down. What angle? 30 degrees. I turned my wrist. The blade moved across the surface like a swimming dragon, leaving a smooth curve behind. If you cut straight, you break the grain. Only by going diagonally can you preserve the natural texture. I get it. I get it. Owen was a carpenter's apprentice from our old street. He was only in his early 20s. His skill was average, but he was honest and practical. When my father was alive, he had taught Owen a few woodcarving tricks. That was why Owen always respectfully called me master. Master, you haven't practiced in 3 years. How are you still this smooth? Once your hands learn something, they don't forget easily. Then why didn't you carve before? I paused. Why? Because of Serena. She said woodcarving had no future. She said a grown man holding knives every day looked ridiculous. She forced me to choose, put down the knife, or get out of her life. I helplessly chose the former. And in the end, she still cheated. There was other work before. I said lightly. Now that work is gone. That's great. Owen's voice became excited. Master, once you return, you'll definitely become huge. I did not answer. Huge? All I wanted was to prove one thing: the craft my father left me was not useless. By dusk, I put down the knife and moved my aching wrist. The rough shape of the pine and crane piece had already appeared. The crane's wings were slightly spread, as if about to fly. The pine branches wrapped around the base, ancient and strong. But it was far from finished. The crane's eyes. The delicate feather texture. The layered pine needles. Those were the most time-consuming details. Just as I was about to continue, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Liam Lee, right? The man's voice sounded familiar. I heard you started working on your own. Who is this? Marcus Zhao. Hearing that name, my hand tightened around the knife. What do you want? Nothing. His tone carried a mocking smile. Just checking on an old colleague. I heard you rented a basement as your studio. Tisk, TSK. Liam, you really aren't doing well. I said nothing. Oh, Tiangong Group didn't even give you an office? He continued mocking. Then again, you didn't even graduate college. It's already pretty good that someone gave you work. I frowned. Marcus Zhao, what exactly are you trying to say? His voice instantly turned cold. I advise you to know your place and stay far away. Don't think attaching yourself to Mr. Wang makes you impressive. President Lin said if you dare take clients from her circle, she has plenty of ways to make sure you can't survive. I laughed coldly. Did Serena ask you to call me? I called you myself. He snorted. Liam Lee, you are trash. What right do you have to compete with me? Compete? For what? He lowered his voice. For Serena. Do you really think she loves you? She only married you because your father helped her family. Once your father died, what value did you have left? My fingers tightened around the phone until my knuckles whitened. I forced down my anger. Marcus Zhao, are you done? His voice became playful. I'm done. What, angry? No, I'm only thinking about one thing. What? You're a male assistant who climbed up by relying on a woman. What right do you have to say these things to me? The other end went silent for 2 seconds. Then came his furious curse. You fucking, I cut him off impatiently. Enough. Marcus, I'll warn you once. If you target me, I may ignore it. But if you dare touch my clients, I will not let you go. Are you threatening me? Not a threat. A preview. After hanging up, I threw the phone aside. My hands trembled uncontrollably. Not from fear. From extreme anger. Marcus was right about one thing. Serena had married me because of my father. 3 years ago, my father helped Serena's father solve a major business crisis and saved their family company. Her father was grateful. That was why he arranged our marriage. I had thought that at least Serena would remember that kindness. But what was the result? She cheated. She cut my salary. She let a male assistant humiliate me. I slowly put down the knife and walked to the window. My rented apartment was on the 6th floor. The window faced an old street. Streetlights had already come on. People moved below. Then I suddenly remembered something my father once said: "Son, the least valuable thing in this world is your kindness to others." Back then, I did not understand. Now, I finally did. At that moment, my phone rang again. Still Mr. Wang. Liam, the client changed his mind. My heart tightened. What changed? He wants it urgent. Tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yes. Price doubles. 160,000. Do you take it? 160,000. I looked at the wood before me. The crane's wings were not finished. The layers of pine needles were not done. At normal pace, I could complete it by tomorrow evening. I'll take it. Good. Mr. Wang laughed. I knew you could. The client also said if you can deliver before 5 tomorrow afternoon, he'll add another 20,000. No need. Why? I don't want people to think Liam Lee's craft is valuable only because of extra money. The other end was silent for 2 seconds. Liam, you're even tougher than your father. My father taught me. Fine. Tomorrow at 4, I'll send someone to pick it up. After hanging up, I returned to the wood and picked up the knife. The blade flashed coldly under the light. This time, I would not choose patience. I made the cut. The blade entered the wood. Shavings scattered. When carving the crane's eye, I carved a little deeper than usual. Because I wanted that crane to look like it had just flown out of a cage. At 2 in the morning, I finally put down the knife. The pine and crane longevity piece was complete. The crane's wings spread slightly. Pine branches wrapped around the base. Every pine needle was clearly visible. I picked up sandpaper and began the final step. The sound of sandpaper rubbing wood filled the room. In that instant, I remembered my father on his deathbed. He held my hand tightly and said, "Son, this set of carving knives has been passed down for 6 generations. Every blade carries the sweat of our ancestors. Remember this. Craft is not only for making money. It is proof that you are truly alive." Back then, I did not understand. Now I did. After the final sanding, I wiped away the dust with a cloth. The crane's feathers glowed warmly under the light. I took a photo and sent it to Mr. Wang. Finished. 3 seconds later, he replied, "Holy shit. What? This is even better than your work 3 years ago." I smiled and did not reply. After putting away the knives, I stood and moved my stiff shoulders. Outside, dawn had begun to break. My phone rang again. This time, it was Owen. "Master, are you asleep?" "Not yet. I have something to tell you." "Say it." I resigned. I froze. Resigned from what? The carpentry shop. Owen's voice was full of excitement. "I want to follow you." "Follow me?" "Yes. You're starting your own studio, right? I want to be your apprentice. Officially." I stayed silent for a few seconds. "Owen, I don't even have a proper studio yet." "Don't worry. I have a warehouse in the suburbs. It's a little far, but it's spacious. Water and electricity are all there." "Where did you get a warehouse?" "My uncle's. He went abroad and asked me to look after it. It's empty anyway. If you don't mind, use it as your studio." Holding the phone, I suddenly felt my nose sting. "Owen, why are you doing this?" "Why?" Owen laughed. "Master, you may not know this, but I've loved woodcarving since I was a kid. My dad always said this line of work had no future. But whenever I see what you carve, I feel this craft absolutely has a future. And besides, you're my master. An apprentice following his master is only natural." I took a deep breath. "Good. Really? Of course. That's great. I'll clean the warehouse tomorrow." "No. Tomorrow I have work." "The day after." "Fine. The day after." After hanging up, I sat in my chair and looked at the dawn outside. A new day had begun. So had a new start. I picked up my phone and sent Serena a message. "The divorce agreement will be delivered by my lawyer. Just sign it." Then I blocked her number. Next, I called my lawyer. "Attorney Zhang, draft a divorce agreement for me." "Of course, Mr. Lee. How do you want the assets divided?" "The house goes to her. The car too. The savings split evenly." "Understood. I'll have it ready tomorrow." "Thank you." After hanging up, I walked to the woodcarving. The crane's eyes shone in the morning light. I reached out and gently touched its wing. "Dad, your son did not disgrace you." My phone rang. "Mr. Wang. Liam, the client arrived early. Can I send someone to pick it up now?" "Come." 20 minutes later, a black business van stopped downstairs. A middle-aged man in a suit got out, followed by 2 assistants. "Are you Mr. Liam Lee?" "Yes. I'm a friend of Mr. Wang. My surname is Chen." He extended his hand. "I've long heard of you." I shook his hand. "You're too kind, Mr. Chen." "Not at all." He smiled. "Mr. Wang said your craft was ancestral." At first, I didn't believe it. After seeing the photo, I did. "You flatter me." "Not at all." He glanced at the carving on the floor. "May I see the real piece?" "Of course." He walked over, crouched down, and studied it carefully. His fingers lightly brushed the crane's wing and stopped near its eye. This eye, what about it? It looks alive. He looked up at me. Masterly, I'm convinced. As long as Mr. Chen is satisfied. I'm very satisfied. He stood. I already transferred the money to Mr. Wang. In the future, if I have more work, I'll come to you again. You're always welcome. He told his assistants to carefully wrap the carving and carry it into the van. Before leaving, he handed me a business card. Masterly, this is my private number. If you ever need anything, don't be polite. Thank you, Mr. Chen. No need. He smiled. Your craft is this good. It deserves to be seen by more people. The business van slowly drove away. I stood by the road and watched until it disappeared around the corner. Then my phone vibrated. Mr. Wang sent a message. The money arrived. 160,000. Check it. I opened my bank app. The balance clearly showed 160,000.00. A full 160,000. Back then, I had worked myself to death for 2 years in Serena's company and still could not save that much. Thinking of this, I smiled slightly and looked up at the sky. The sunlight was a little glaring. But I did not hide from it. Because starting today, I no longer needed to shrink away from life. My phone rang again. Unknown number. Hello? May I ask if this is Mr. Liam Lee? This is Tiangong Group HR. We'd like to confirm your start date. I froze. Start date? Right. I had promised Mr. Wang I would join Tiangong. But now the situation had changed a little. I'm sorry. Something came up on my side. Can my start date be pushed back a few days? Something changed? Yes. I started my own studio. The other end went silent for a few seconds. Then will you still join our company? I thought for a moment. Yes. Great. When are you available? Next Monday. Understood. I'll register that for you. Welcome to Tiangong Group. Thank you. I hung up and looked at the time. 7:30 in the morning. The day had just begun. I picked up the carving knife and felt its weight in my palm. There was still a faint fragrance of wood shavings on the handle. Dad, I said softly. Your son made 160,000 today. It's still far from what you did back then. But I'll keep chasing. I carefully put away the knives, carried my bag, and went downstairs. The breakfast stall had just opened. Boss, 2 fried dough sticks and 1 bowl of soy milk. Coming. I sat on a small stool by the road and watched people pass. Some were walking fast, rushing toward important appointments. Some moved slowly, enjoying the morning. Everyone lived in their own world. And I had finally returned to mine. Liam, your craft will explode sooner or later. Mr. Wang patted my shoulder while staring at the wood carving on the table. Under the light, the crane's wings glowed softly. The layers of pine needles extended delicately from the base to the crane's claws. Every needle was so clear it could be counted. I smiled faintly and did not answer. Mr. Chen just called. He said he placed that piece in his office, and every person who came to talk business praised it. Mr. Wang waved his phone. He already introduced 3 friends. All of them want custom pieces. What do they want? One wants fortune, prosperity, and longevity. One wants peonies in full bloom. And the last one, Mr. Wang deliberately paused. He wants you to design based on his idea. Name your price. Name my price. That sounded so familiar. 3 days ago, Marcus had mocked me for renting a basement as a studio. Now, people were already letting me name my price. I'll take that order. I said without hesitation. But the schedule has to be rearranged. I can't handle everything alone. Then hire people. Mr. Wang handed me a cigarette. You already have an apprentice. Hire 2 more and scale this up. I accepted the cigarette but did not light it. Hiring people is easy. But this craft can't be mastered just because someone comes in. Then take small orders first. I'll screen the big ones for you. Mr. Wang put the cigarette between his lips and lit it. Oh, right. There's an industry exhibition next month. Are you interested? What exhibition? National Arts and Crafts Exhibition. At the convention center. Mr. Wang exhaled smoke. In past years, mostly old brands attended. This year, the organizers want to promote new faces, and they sent me an invitation. If you want to go, I'll reserve you a booth. National Arts and Crafts Exhibition. When my father was alive, he attended every year. He always said it was the best place for craftsmen to show their faces. I'll go. Reserve me a booth. Good. Mr. Wang put out his cigarette. Then prepare a few pieces worthy of the stage. When I left Tiangong Tower, it was already fully dark. I stood by the road and checked the time. 7:30 p.m. There were 3 missed calls on my phone. All from the same number. Serena's lawyer. I had no intention of calling back. Instead, I called Owen. Master. Owen's cheerful voice came through. Owen, are you free tomorrow? Yes, yes. Just say the word. Come with me to the lumber market. We'll choose some material. What time? 8 in the morning. I'll wait downstairs at your rented apartment. Good. After hanging up, I hailed a taxi. Driver, Xingfu Garden. The driver looked at me through the rearview mirror. Going there this late? To get something. The car moved onto the elevated road. Streetlights passed one after another. I stared out the window, my mind full of the exhibition. The National Arts and Crafts exhibition was filled with senior masters. I had not touched the knife for 3 years. Even if my foundation remained, compared with those who practiced daily, the gap could not be ignored. I had to give it everything I had. The car stopped at the compound entrance. The security guard recognized me and froze. Brotherly? Long time no see. I was on a business trip. Oh, come in. I walked into the compound and followed the familiar path to the building. I looked up. The 6th floor window was lit. Serena was home. I took out my key and opened the unit door. Step by step, I went upstairs. When I reached the door, I stopped. Voices came faintly from inside. Serena's voice. He really went to Tiangong Group? There was another voice. Marcus. Yes. Mr. Wang already arranged a position for him. What position? Technical director. Marcus sneered. A man who didn't even graduate college is worthy of being technical director? Enough. Serena's voice sounded impatient. Stop talking about him. Did you handle that batch of goods? All handled. It can be shipped tomorrow. That's good. Serena seemed relieved. I stood outside the door, my hand tightening around the key. Marcus was in the house. In the home that belonged to Serena and me. I took a deep breath, forced myself calm, and inserted the key. Click. The door opened. Both people in the living room turned at the same time. Serena wore loose sleepwear and sat lazily on the sofa. Marcus sat beside her, his suit jacket casually hanging over the sofa arm. When they saw me, their expressions froze. Why are you back? Serena spoke first, panic in her voice. To get something. I walked inside without even changing shoes. The box of wood in the basement. I'm taking it away. Wood? Serena frowned with disgust. What are you doing with that junk wood? It's useful. I did not want to explain. I walked straight toward the basement. Marcus immediately stood and blocked me. Liamly, what kind of attitude is that? Move. I'm talking to you. He stepped forward, blocking the basement doorway. You already left, didn't you? What are you doing back here? I looked at him. He was in a suit. His shoes shone. His hair was neat. A mocking smile still hung on his mouth. Marcus Zhao, this is my home. Your home? He laughed contemptuously. Liam, did you misunderstand something? This house belongs to Serena. What does it have to do with you? Even if it doesn't, it's not your place to speak here. My tone carried anger. Marcus was about to explode. Enough. Serena shouted. Then she stood and said softly, Marcus, you go first. Marcus froze. He slowly turned to her. President Lin, I said, go first. His face changed slightly. After hesitating, he forced out an ugly smile. Fine. I'll go first. He elegantly picked up his jacket and walked past me. As he passed, he deliberately bumped my shoulder. In a voice only I could hear, he said coldly, Liamly, behave yourself. I ignored him. After he disappeared behind the door, I walked toward the basement. Serena followed quietly. Her voice carried doubt and worry. Liam, what exactly are you trying to do? I told you. I'm getting something. Will you leave after taking it? She paused. You are really going to Tiangong? I already went. Do you know Tiangong is our competitor? I know. Then you still went? I stopped and looked back at her. Serena, we're divorced. We haven't signed. Soon. She bit her lip and fell silent. I entered the basement and opened the old wooden box. Besides several pieces of raw wood, there were a few old books left by my father. I moved the wood out piece by piece and carefully placed it into woven bags. Serena stood at the basement entrance, looking at my busy figure with complicated eyes. Liam, have you really thought this through? Yes. You didn't even graduate college. How far do you think you can go outside? I straightened and looked directly at her. Serena, I've heard that sentence for 3 years. She froze. Before, I believed it. I thought I was nothing. And now? Now I know. I brushed dust from my hands. It wasn't that I couldn't do anything. It was that I wasted my time on someone unworthy. Her face turned pale instantly. What do you mean? Nothing. I lifted the woven bag. I'm leaving. Liam. I stopped and waited. Do you hate me? I frowned slightly, thought for a moment, then said, no, really? Really? I smiled. Hating someone is too tiring. I only want to live well. She fell silent. A trace of loss flashed in her eyes. I carried the bag out of the basement, crossed the living room, and reached the door. Liam. I looked back. Serena stood in the living room under soft light. Her expression was complicated. If you can't make it out there, you can come back. I smiled freely. Serena, I won't come back. Why? Because I no longer want to be your accessory. I opened the door and left. The door closed behind me. It was as if it cut off my entire past. Inside, I heard her call, Liam. I did not turn back. Carrying the heavy bag, I went downstairs and walked toward the compound gate. The security guard saw me and froze. Brotherly, what is this? Moving. Oh. Need help? No, thank you. I hailed a taxi, struggled to put the bag into the trunk, then sat inside. Driver, Old Street. The car started. I leaned back and closed my eyes. My mind kept replaying the scene just now. Marcus, in a suit, sitting on my sofa with a proud smile. Serena, in sleepwear, sitting beside him. They looked warm together. Like a family. And I was the outsider. No. I had been the outsider from the beginning. My phone vibrated. Owen sent a message, Master, tomorrow at 8. I'll be there on time. I glanced at it without replying. The taxi stopped at the entrance of Old Street. I paid, carried the bag upstairs, and entered the rented apartment. The place was still the same. Newspapers on the floor. Carving knives on the table. I placed the wood against the wall one piece at a time. Then I picked up a knife and weighed it in my hand. Starting tomorrow, I had to prepare the exhibition piece. I had to show my real ability. I opened the book left by my father and found the piece he had exhibited in the past, 100 Birds Facing the Phoenix. It had been his proudest work. He had carved it for half a year. I did not have that much time. Nor did I have his level yet. But I could create a piece that belonged to me. I picked up a pen and drew a sketch. An eagle stood on the edge of a cliff. Its wings half open. Its eyes fixed on the distance. I would carve an eagle. An eagle that had flown out of a cage. After finishing the sketch, I checked the time. It was already 1 in the morning. I put down the pen and walked to the window. The lights of Old Street were still on. Occasionally, someone returned late and hurried past. I opened my phone and messaged Mr. Wang, Old Wang, has the exhibition booth been booked? 3 seconds later, he replied, booked. Area C, booth 12. Pretty good location. Thanks. No need. By the way, do you have an idea for the work? Yes. What theme? Eagle. Eagle? He sent a thumbs up emoji. Good theme. Powerful. I did not reply again. I set the phone aside and picked up the knife. The blade flashed under the light. I closed my eyes. The eagle appeared clearly in my mind. Wings fully spread. Claws gripping the rock. Eyes fixed on the distance. Just like me now. Like a bird breaking free from a cage and flying to the edge of a cliff. Before me was a vast sky. Behind me was a bottomless abyss. But I had made my decision. I would not turn back. Because I knew turning back meant death. I opened my eyes. I picked up the wood. Then I made the first cut. The sharp blade entered the wood. Shavings flew like snow. This time, I would carve a real eagle. An eagle that could soar freely across the sky. Mr. Wang, there is something wrong with these accounts. I gently put down the carving knife and stared at the file Mr. Wang had placed before me. There were only 3 days before the exhibition opened. I had only wanted to confirm the booth arrangement with him. I did not expect him to hand me a thick stack of documents and say he had picked them up along the way. What's wrong? Mr. Wang sat lazily across from me with his legs crossed, drinking tea. The purchase price of this batch of wood handled by Marcus Zhao is almost double the normal price. I tapped the glaring number on the document. Last October, the company imported a batch of old rosewood from Southeast Asia. The price was twice the market rate. How can you tell? My father worked in this line for 30 years. I know the price of every kind of wood. I turned to the next page. And the actual warehouse quantity was 30% less than the purchased quantity. Mr. Wang slowly set down his teacup and looked at me in silence. Liam, you're sharper than your father. It isn't because I'm sharp. This account is simply too crude. I closed the file. The price difference is at least 2 million. 2 million? Mr. Wang smiled meaningfully. Keep turning. I turned another page. My fingers froze. This page clearly recorded internal transfers from Serena's company. Last December, Marcus transferred 1.5 million from the company account under the name of Project Turnover. The receiving party was a shell company. The legal representative was his cousin. Does Serena know? What do you think? Mr. Wang slowly lit a cigarette. I've dealt with your ex-wife for years. She is indeed very smart. But she has one weakness. She trusts the people around her too much. I gripped the file tightly. Sweat slowly formed in my palm. Not from nervousness. From excitement. Mr. Wang, how did you get this? I have an old classmate who worked in their finance department for 10 years. Mr. Wang exhaled a ring of smoke. Marcus forced him out last month. Before leaving, he copied a backup. Why give it to me? To vent his anger. Mr. Wang flicked ash into the tray. He said this would be more useful in your hands than in his. I stayed silent for a few seconds. I'll take it for now. No rush. Mr. Wang stood and patted my shoulder. The exhibition matters most right now. Stand firm there first. Then think about how to use this knife. I carefully put the file into my bag. At that moment, Owen called. Master. The booth is set up. Come take a look. I'm coming. The convention center was not far from the studio. 20 minutes by car. On the road, my mind kept circling around that account file. Marcus had embezzled company funds. The evidence was solid. But evidence alone was not enough. I had to figure out whether Serena knew. If she knew, she was an accomplice. If she did not know, then the file in my hand was a sharp knife that could pierce through them both. Master. Owen's voice pulled me back. He stood at the entrance of the convention center with 2 bottles of water. The booth is in Area C, booth 12. The location is amazing, right across from the main aisle. I took the water and followed him inside. The exhibition hall was large and brightly lit. Every booth was being arranged. Some people hung banners. Some placed exhibits. Others adjusted lights. Area C, booth 12 was indeed excellent. About 20 square meters. 3 walls. A display table in the center. Owen had wiped the table until it shone and laid a piece of deep blue velvet over it. Master, once your eagle goes up there, it'll shock everyone. I did not answer. I walked to the table, took the wood carving from my bag, and placed it at the center. The eagle. Its wings were half open. Its claws gripped the base tightly. Its eyes stared straight ahead. Under the light, the feathers gave off a soft, warm glow. Master, the more I look, the more I feel it's about to fly. It was always meant to fly. I stepped back and quietly looked at the eagle. For it, I had barely slept for 3 days and nights. My fingers were blistered. My wrist was so sore I could barely lift it. But it was worth it. Liam? A voice sounded behind me. I turned. Serena stood 2 meters away in a white suit, holding a briefcase. Beside her stood Marcus Zhao, dressed sharply and holding coffee. Why are you here? She frowned. To exhibit. Exhibit? Marcus laughed. Liam, did you come to the wrong place? This is an arts and crafts exhibition. Not somewhere for your street stall junk. I ignored him and looked at Serena. What are you doing here? Our company is a sponsor. She said. I came to check the exhibition area. Oh. You, she looked at the eagle on the table. Her gaze paused. You carved this? She fell silent. Her eyes locked on the eagle as if trying to see through it. Marcus slowly stepped closer, glanced at it, and immediately sneered. This thing? You have the nerve to bring this to an exhibition? Marcus Zhao. I looked at him coldly. Do you understand woodcarving? You don't. I cut him off. Then shut your mouth. His face turned dark. Enough. Serena spoke. Marcus, go check Area B first. Marcus froze. Clearly, he had not expected Serena to send him away. President Lin, I said, go to Area B. Her voice was firm. He gritted his teeth, glared at me, and stormed away with his coffee. I did not take his glare seriously. Serena slowly walked to the display table and reached out toward the eagle. Don't touch it. My voice sounded cold. Her hand froze in midair. She looked at me with grievance. Liam, do you have to be like this? Like what? Treating me like an outsider. Her eyes looked hurt. You are an outsider. I pierced through her fantasy without mercy. Serena, we're already divorced. She slowly withdrew her hand and looked at me. You really changed. I didn't. I said firmly. I simply stopped pretending to be what you wanted. She was silent for several seconds. Then her gaze returned to the eagle. A trace of admiration flashed in her eyes. That eagle is beautiful. Thank you. You didn't lose your father's craft. No, I nodded. I didn't. She looked deeply at the eagle once more, then slowly turned to leave. After a few steps, she stopped and looked back. Liam, I'll come on the exhibition day. As you wish. My tone had no ripple. She said nothing more and disappeared into the crowd. Owen carefully leaned closer. Master, who was that woman? My ex-wife. Owen's eyes widened. The one who, yes. That one. Why did she come? I don't know. I spun the carving knife between my fingers. And I don't want to know. The next day, the exhibition officially opened. The weather was clear. Warm sunlight entered through the glass dome of the convention center and lit the entire hall. I stood before booth C12 in the dark gray shirt Mr. Wang had prepared for me. Owen stood beside me, nervous enough that his palms were sweating. Master, are you nervous? No, really? I smiled helplessly. Fake. But being nervous is useless. At 9, the exhibition opened. People poured in like a tide. Collectors with sharp eyes. Smart dealers. Fellow craftsmen. Ordinary citizens watching for fun. Because of the booth's good location, my display was quickly surrounded. This eagle looks alive. Look at those feathers. Layer after layer. Too realistic. This kind of skill needs at least 20 years of foundation. I stood quietly to the side. I only watched people talk about the eagle. Some took photos. Some asked about the price. Some even wanted to touch it. I politely refused. Sorry, this is an exhibition piece. Please don't touch. Is the eagle for sale? We can discuss after the exhibition. How much? No price yet. In the crowd, I spotted a familiar figure. Serena. She stood at the edge of the crowd, quietly watching me. I pretended not to see her and continued introducing my piece to guests. This eagle uses old rosewood. I carved it for 3 days and 3 nights. 3 days? You finished this in only 3 days? It's an ancestral technique. Fast by nature. Incredible. Someone in the crowd could not help applauding. I smiled slightly. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Serena still standing there. She did not leave. Nor did she come closer. At 10:30, the judging panel began touring the hall. Walking at the front was an old man with white hair. His surname was Liu. He was vice president of the Arts and Crafts Association. When my father was alive, he had drunk with him several times. He slowly stopped in front of my booth, his eyes fixed on the eagle for a long time. You carved this? Yes. Your father was Li Guodong? Yes. He was. Elder Liu nodded lightly. You did not lose your father's skill. Thank you, Elder Liu. He studied the work for a few more seconds. Then he picked up his pen and wrote something on the scoring sheet. The judges left one after another. Owen leaned over, curious. Master, who was that? Vice President of the Arts and Crafts Association. What did he write? I don't know. But in my heart, I already had a guess. At 3 in the afternoon, the award ceremony began. The host stood on a bright stage and read the winners aloud. Gold Award work titled Eagle, creator, Liam Lee. Thunderous applause rang out. I stood below the stage, stunned for a moment. Owen quickly pushed me and shouted excitedly, "Master! Gold Award! You won gold!" I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and walked onto the stage. I accepted the certificate and trophy from the host. The stage lights hit my face, a little dazzling. I looked down at the crowd instinctively. At once, I saw Serena standing there. Her expression was extremely complicated. Shock, trembling realization, and something I could not describe. "Please, Mr. Liam Lee, give your acceptance speech." The host's voice rang out. I walked to the microphone and cleared my throat. "Thank you to the judges for recognizing my work." I paused slightly. "I also want to thank my father. When he taught me this craft, he once told me something." I deliberately stopped. The audience grew quiet. Everyone waited for my next words. "Craft is not only for making money. It is proof that you are truly alive." The room stayed silent for several seconds. Then applause thundered through the hall. Holding the trophy, I walked off the stage. Owen rushed over and hugged me tightly. "Master! You're amazing. Absolutely amazing." After the ceremony ended, people gradually scattered. I held the trophy and certificate, yet my heart was unexpectedly calm. Mr. Wang squeezed through the crowd and slapped my shoulder hard. "Liam, I knew you could do it." I smiled. "Thanks to your help. No need to be polite." Mr. Wang lowered his voice and glanced toward Serena standing in the corner. "Your ex-wife has been standing there for half an hour. You want to say a few words?" I followed his gaze. Serena wore a white suit. Her arms were crossed. Her eyes were complicated as she looked in my direction. No one stood beside her. Marcus was nowhere to be seen. "No need." I withdrew my gaze. "Old Wang, tonight I'll treat you to drinks." "Done." Just as I was about to leave, Serena walked over quickly and blocked me. "Liam, can we talk?" Mr. Wang stepped back knowingly and pulled out his phone, pretending to take a call. I stood in place and looked at her calmly. "Talk about what?" She pressed her lips together. Her eyes showed a softness I had never seen. "Congratulations on the Gold Award." "Thank you." "That eagle," she paused, as if searching for words. "It's truly incredible." The air fell into awkward silence. She took a deep breath, as if gathering immense courage. "I read the book your father left you. On one page, he wrote, 'My son Liam has natural talent. He will inherit my craft and accomplish great things.'" My fingers tightened slightly. "I was wrong before." Her voice trembled. "I should not have made you give up woodcarving. I should not have, Serena." I interrupted her. "What meaning do these words have now?" Her eyes reddened. "I want to make it up to you." "How?" I looked directly into her eyes. "For 3 years, you suppressed me, belittled me, humiliated me, and then there was you and Marcus. How do you plan to make up for that?" She opened her mouth. But no words came out. "I don't need you to make up for anything," I said calmly. "I only need you to sign the divorce agreement. Then we're even." "Liam, oh, right. There is one more thing." I took the file from my bag and handed it to her. "Marcus Zhao embezzled 1.5 million from your company. The detailed evidence is inside. Handle it yourself." She took the file, flipped through a few pages, and her face instantly turned pale. You'd better check your company accounts." I looked away. "That is all I have to say." After that, I walked past her toward Mr. Wang. Behind me, Serena did not chase after me. She only stood there, gripping the file with trembling fingers. When we walked out of the convention center, the night wind carried the smell of the city. Mr. Wang handed me a cigarette. "You really don't plan to give her another chance?" I accepted the cigarette but did not light it. "Some roads, once taken wrong, are wrong. You can't go back." Mr. Wang stayed silent for a few seconds. Then patted my shoulder. "Fine. Let's drink." 3 days later, news exploded through the local business circle. Serena's company was audited by tax authorities. Marcus Zhao was taken away by police on suspicion of embezzling company funds. Owen rushed into the studio holding his phone, face full of excitement. "Master! Look at the news." I put down my knife and took the phone. On the screen was a local finance push notification. company financial executive Zhao detained on suspicion of embezzlement, involving more than 1 million yuan. The comments were already exploding. Some people exposed that Marcus had climbed up through connections. Some said he often went to high-end clubs using company money. There was even an anonymous comment, "This guy even dared crawl into the boss lady's bed. It would be strange if nothing happened." I scrolled down and saw another update. Serena's company had released a statement. They said they would fully cooperate with the investigation and never tolerate internal parasites. I returned the phone to Owen and picked up my carving knife again. "Master, aren't you curious about what happens next?" "Not curious," I said casually. "What should come will come." That afternoon, Mr. Wang called. "Liam, Marcus got arrested. You know?" "I know. Your ex-wife acted pretty fast. Only 3 days and she sent him in." I stayed silent for a moment. She was never stupid. "What's your next plan?" "Continue carving my wood." I looked at a new piece of material on the table. "Old Wang, I took a new order. The client wants a pair of dragon and phoenix harmony pieces. Deadline, half a month." "Fine. I'll cover the funds." After hanging up, I was about to make the first cut when someone knocked. Owen went to open the door. He froze. "Moss Master's wife?" Then he quickly corrected himself. "Ms. Lin." I looked up. Serena stood at the door wearing an ordinary beige trench coat. Her face looked haggard. "Liam." Her voice was hoarse. "Can I come in?" I put down the knife. "Come in." Owen wisely found an excuse and slipped away. Serena walked into the studio and looked around. Half-finished pieces hung on the walls. The desk was covered with wood shavings and carving knives. The air carried the fresh scent of pine. "So this is your studio?" she asked softly. It's small, but enough." She walked to the table and picked up an unfinished piece. Her fingers gently brushed the knife marks. "You once said you wanted to open a woodcarving studio. I thought it had no future and wouldn't let you. That's in the past." I poured myself a glass of water. "You didn't come here only to remember the past, did you?" She set down the wood and turned to face me. "Thank you for the evidence on Marcus." "No need. I simply didn't want that kind of person to continue harming others. One more thing." She took a document from her bag. I signed the divorce agreement. She handed it to me. I looked at her neat signature on the document. Serena Lin. The strokes were tidy, but the pen pressure showed faint trembling. "You said the house goes to me, the car goes to me, and the savings split evenly." I added one clause. She paused. "The small apartment in the south of the city will be transferred to you." I froze. "That was your father's dowry gift to you. I wronged you first." Her eyes reddened faintly. "Liam, I'm not asking you to forgive me. But I hope, at least you can have a place that truly belongs to you." I stayed silent for a long time. In the end, I accepted the document. "Fine." She took a deep breath, as if putting down a huge weight. "Then I'll go." "Serena." I called her. She stopped and turned back. "Did you truly know nothing about Marcus?" Her expression stiffened for a second. Then a bitter smile appeared. "If I say I didn't know, will you believe me?" "I believe you." I looked at her. "Because although you were cold, you weren't stupid. If you knew he was sucking blood from the company, you would never tolerate him." She stared at me for several seconds. Something seemed to flash in her eyes. "Liam, you changed." Her voice choked slightly. "In the past, you would not have spoken for me like this. In the past, I only hid myself in your shadow." I picked up the knife and sat back at the table. "Now, I only want to do what I want to do." She looked at me silently for a long time. Finally, she said softly, "I wish you happiness." The door closed behind her. I lowered my head and looked at the knife in my hand. The blade flashed under the light. Outside the window, the sunset slowly sank beneath the city skyline. The effect brought by the Gold Award far exceeded my expectations. Over the next month, orders flew in like snow. All 3 clients introduced by Mr. Chen paid deposits. One client, Boss Zhang, directly ordered a full 12 Zodiac series. Price, 500,000. Owen became so busy his feet almost left the ground. He recruited 2 more apprentices. We converted the suburban warehouse into a rough production line. Apprentices handled rough blanks. Owen handled the middle details. The most critical face opening and refinement were done by me personally. Master, Boss Zhang said he wants to visit the studio. Owen ran over, wiping sweat. When? The day after tomorrow. Fine. Clean everything in advance. By the time I finished the horse head piece that night, it was already 11. I moved my stiff neck and went outside the warehouse for air. The night sky was clear. A few stars hung above. I checked my phone and found an unread message from Serena. Marcus was sentenced. 5 years. I stared at the screen for several seconds. I did not reply. Just as I was about to lock the screen, another message came. I am personally taking over the company now. Liam, sometimes I wonder, if I had not stopped you from woodcarving back then, what would we be like now? My fingers tightened around the phone. After a long time, I replied with 3 words, I don't know. She replied quickly. I'm sorry. I did not reply again. Life has no if. Only consequences. The choices made 3 years ago had already written our ending. No number of imaginary possibilities mattered. I put away the phone and returned to the warehouse. Owen was organizing wood in the corner. When he saw me, he looked up. Master, Boss Zhang is coming the day after tomorrow. Should we display our pine and crane sample? Display it. I picked up the knife and sat down. Also bring out that old golden Nanmu piece. I'll carve a small gift for him. Okay. Owen's eyes lit up. That material is expensive. Whether it's expensive isn't important. The blade fell. Wood shavings flew. What matters is making him feel our sincerity. Boss Zhang arrived half an hour earlier than scheduled. A black Maybach stopped at the warehouse entrance. The driver got out first and opened the door. Then a slightly chubby middle-aged man in his 50s stepped down. He wore a dark blue tang suit and had a polished pair of walnuts circling in his hand. Master Li. I've long heard of you. He strode over, grabbed both my hands, and smiled broadly. I saw your Gold Award Eagle. Incredible. You're too kind, Boss Zhang. I led him into the warehouse. Conditions are simple. Please excuse us. Not simple at all. He looked around and soon stopped in front of several finished pieces on display. He leaned down to study the pine and crane piece. His fingers hovered in the air without touching it. These layers of pine needles, Master Li, you carved them cut by cut? All by hand. I stood beside him. Machines can't make this effect. I can tell. He straightened, eyes full of appreciation. Mr. Chen recommended you to me before. I was skeptical. Now that I've seen the real thing, I believe it. As long as Boss Zhang is satisfied. Satisfied? Very satisfied. He walked around the warehouse and then looked at the unfinished horse head in the corner. For your 12 Zodiac series, I'll raise the price. 600,000. Full payment in advance. Owen gasped beside me. I did not agree immediately. Instead, I asked, Boss Zhang, what business are you in? Furniture. He smiled and took out a business card. Solid wood furniture. Been doing it for 20 years. Recently I want to expand into a high-end wood carving line. Master Li, are you interested in cooperation? I accepted the card. It read, Xiangrui Home Furnishing Group Chairman, Zhang Jingguo. This company was well known in the industry. It specialized in mid to high-end solid wood furniture. What kind of cooperation? You provide technique. I provide channels. He made a hand gesture. Profit split, you 6, I 4. Owen gasped again. This man had actually volunteered to give me the larger share. I was silent for several seconds. Boss Zhang, you're being very generous. What are you after? Your craft. He pointed to the Gold Award certificate on the wall. Master Li, I've been in furniture for 20 years. I've met at least 800 excellent woodworkers, if not 1,000. But someone who can carve a soul into wood, this is my first time. You flatter me. I don't. He put away his smile and looked at me seriously. I spoke with Mr. Wang too. He said you are honest. When I do business, I look at 3 things. Character. Skill. Reputation. You have all 3. I extended my hand. Happy cooperation. He held my hand and smiled brightly. Happy cooperation. After seeing Boss Zhang off, Owen circled the warehouse excitedly. Master. 600,000. 60-40. We're going to be rich. I sat down and drank water. Don't celebrate too early. As volume grows, quality cannot drop. How are the 2 apprentices you recruited? They're hardworking. Little Lou has been here half a month and can already rough out blanks. Let him make one tomorrow and bring it to me. Got it. My phone rang. Mr. Wang. Boss Zhang went to see you? He just left. Deal? Deal. Damn. Mr. Wang laughed. He's famous for being shrewd. You're the first person I've seen make him volunteer profit. Maybe he values my technique. Don't give me that. Mr. Wang snorted. He values your drive. 3 years without touching a knife, and the moment you return, you win gold. A person like that will become important sooner or later. Why wouldn't he grab your thigh now? I did not answer. Only smiled. Oh, right. Mr. Wang's tone suddenly became serious. Next month, the city is holding an Intangible Cultural Heritage Inheritor selection. Your father almost got it back then. Do you want to apply? I froze. My father? Yes. That year, his health was already poor. He submitted the application. But before it went through, he passed away. Mr. Wang sighed. If you can win it, you'll fulfill his dream. My hand tightened around the phone. Silence lasted a long time. What materials are needed? Photos of works. Personal resume. Lineage proof. That set of knives passed down 6 generations is your strongest evidence. Then help me apply. Done. After hanging up, I walked to the workbench and picked up my most used flat knife. The handle had been polished smooth and warm. I could still faintly see the marks left by my father's fingers. The sweat of 6 generations had seeped into this blade. And I had nearly let it gather dust for 3 years. Dad. I said softly. This time, your son will bring you honor. When the selection notice arrived, I was rushing Boss Zhang's 12 zodiac order. Owen rushed in holding the document, excited beyond words. Master. Your materials passed the first review. The interview is next Wednesday. Interview? I put down the knife. Isn't submitting materials enough? I heard they reformed it this year. They added a live craft demonstration. Owen handed me the notice. You need to bring a representative piece and accept expert review on site. I glanced over it. It clearly stated that applicants must bring 1 representative work for on-site explanation and skill demonstration. The review committee had 5 people. One of them was Elder Liu, vice president of the Arts and Crafts Association. Elder Liu is on the review panel? Yes. He's even the panel leader. I nodded. That made things easier. Elder Liu had seen my eagle and remembered my father. At least he would not deliberately make things difficult. 3 days before the review, I stopped accepting all orders and focused on preparing a display piece. From my father's old books, I found an old design sketch. It was a piece he had designed but never completed, Dragon Rising over 4 seas. I decided to finish it. Dragon represented the Chinese spirit. Rising was my current state. 4 seas represented the direction I was going. For 3 days and 2 nights, I barely closed my eyes. The blade moved across the wood. Scales appeared one by one. The dragon's head rose high. Its tail swept outward. Waves surged across the base. When the final cloud pattern was complete, Owen's eyes turned red. Master, this dragon, it looks alive. I put down the knife. My wrist hurt so badly I could barely lift it. Pack it. We take it to the review tomorrow. On Wednesday morning, Mr. Wang personally drove to pick me up. He glanced at the carefully wrapped dragon rising over 4 seas in the passenger seat and clicked his tongue. Liam, if your father saw this, he would jump out of his coffin from happiness. Don't talk nonsense. I fastened my seatbelt. Let's go. The review site was on the 3rd floor of the City Cultural Center. When I arrived, several applicants were already sitting in the waiting area. Most of them were middle-aged craftsmen in traditional Chinese jackets. Their representative work sat before them. I looked around and found that all were familiar faces in the industry. A woman who did bamboo weaving. A man who fired ceramics. And an old carpenter from my father's generation, surnamed Zhou. He used to meet my father often at exhibitions. You're Li Guodong's son? Master Zhou walked over and looked me up and down. Yes, Uncle Zhou. How much of your father's flat knife diagonal walk technique did you learn? I smiled. 80%. 80% is enough. He patted my shoulder. Your father lost because of seniority back then. He applied twice and failed both times. This time, you need to win it for him. I will. The review began. Applicants entered one by one. I was sixth. The 5 before me came out with different expressions. Some were happy. Some lowered their heads. Then it was my turn. I carried Dragon Rising over 4 seas into the review room. 5 judges were seated. Elder Lu sat in the middle. When he saw me, he nodded slightly. Liam Li, correct? He flipped through my materials. Your father, Li Guodong, applied for intangible cultural heritage inheritor status 10 years ago. Unfortunately, I know. I said softly. Place your work on the display stand. I carefully opened the wrapping and placed Dragon Rising over 4 seas on the stand. Under the light, the wood glowed with a deep, warm sheen. Dragon scales overlapped layer after layer. Even the whiskers near the dragon's head were clearly visible. The waves on the base rolled like real water. The room was silent for several seconds. Elder Lu stood and walked to the display. He leaned down to study it. His hand hovered above the dragon's head, not touching, as if stroking through empty air. How did you cut these scales? Flat knife diagonal walk. Every scale follows the wood grain. That way, the scales have a natural curve. What sandpaper did you use? 800 grit and 1200 grit. No finer than that. I explained, if it's too fine, it no longer looks like real scales. You need to preserve slight knife marks for life. Elder Lu straightened and looked at the other judges. They did not speak. They simply wrote on their score sheets. Liam. Elder Lu sat back down. What was the first thing your father taught you? The knife does not deceive people. And people must not deceive the knife. Elder Lu smiled until his eyes narrowed. Good. If you remember that sentence, you won't go wrong in this life. After the review, I walked out with sweat in my palms. Master Zhou came forward. How was it? I don't know. What did Elder Lu ask? He asked what my father taught me first. What did you answer? The knife does not deceive people. And people must not deceive the knife. Master Zhou froze. Then he slapped my back hard. Good boy. If your father heard that, he would definitely set up a banquet and make you drink with him. The result would be announced 1 week later. I returned home. The small apartment Serena had transferred to me and lay on the sofa, staring at the ceiling. My phone rang. Owen messaged, Master, how did it go? Fine. Can you be selected? Wait for notice. You definitely will. Master, you're the best. I smiled and did not reply. I put the phone aside and slowly fell asleep. In my dream, I saw my father. He looked the same as 10 years ago, sitting in the courtyard of the old house, holding the flat knife and carving a sparrow. Dad. I walked over and sat beside him. He did not raise his head. Only the corner of his mouth lifted. Son, what did you carve today? A dragon. A dragon. He finally raised his head. His eyes carried a pleased smile. Good. A dragon should fly upward. When I woke, the sky was already bright. There were more than 10 unread messages on my phone. All congratulations. The last one was from Mr. Wang. Only 2 words, you made it. The Intangible Cultural Heritage Inheritor Certificate was delivered personally by Elder Lu to my studio. That day, the warehouse was packed. Mr. Wang, Boss Zhang, Master Zhou, Owen and 2 apprentices, and several craftsmen who had heard the news. Elder Lu handed the gold-stamped certificate into my hands. His voice was neither loud nor low. But everyone present heard it clearly. Comrade Liam Li, after unanimous approval by the Expert Review Committee, you are recognized as the representative inheritor of the city-level Intangible Cultural Heritage Project Li Family Woodcarving. Congratulations. I accepted the certificate with both hands. My fingertips trembled slightly. Say a few words. Elder Lu stepped back and gave me the place. I looked at the faces in the room and suddenly did not know what to say. 3 years in the valley. 1 day to rise again. Only I knew all the bitterness and sweetness in between. I don't have much to say. My voice was a little hoarse. Only 1 sentence. What my father taught me. The knife does not deceive people. And people must not deceive the knife. I did it. Mr. Wang led the applause. The sound filled the entire warehouse. Owen cried messily beside me. Boss Zhang patted his shoulder and laughed, a grown man crying like this? That night, Mr. Wang hosted 3 tables at the best restaurant nearby. I sat at the main seat. Elder Lu on my left. Boss Zhang on my right. Across from me were Master Zhou and Mr. Wang. Liam, I toast you. Elder Lu lifted his glass. I reviewed your father's application back then. At that time, his health was already poor. Even his handwriting was unsteady. But when his work was brought out, everyone in the room was convinced. I held my glass and said nothing. Now, you inherited his mantle. You won gold. You became an inheritor. Elder Lu's eyes reddened slightly. If your father knows this from heaven, he can rest in peace. I raised my head and drank the wine in one mouthful. The liquor burned from my throat to my stomach. Boss Zhang leaned closer. Master Li, I always speak directly. I plan to place your 12 Zodiac series in the most visible spot of my flagship store. In the future, I want exclusive agency rights to every piece you create. Boss Zhang. I placed down my glass. Exclusive agency is fine. But I have one condition. Say it. Every year, I must keep 2 pieces for myself to exhibit. You cannot sell everything. He froze. Then burst out laughing. Fine. Whatever you say. Mr. Wang muttered beside him, I've known you for years. First time I've seen you obey someone like this. That's because you haven't seen the dragon Liam carved. Boss Zhang's eyes brightened. The sheen on those scales, the spirit in the dragon's face. I've sold furniture for 20 years. That was the first time I saw would come alive. The table was lively. Laughter never stopped. I sat among the praise and compliments. Yet my heart was unusually calm. After the climax comes settling. After honors, life still goes on day by day. Wood carving values persistence. When the dinner ended, it was almost 11. Mr. Wang arranged a car to take me home. I leaned back in the rear seat and watched neon lights sweep past outside. My phone vibrated. A message from Serena. Congratulations. You became an inheritor. I stared at the screen for a few seconds and was about to lock it. Another message came. Liam, can I visit your new studio? I hesitated for a long time. In the end, I replied with 4 words, maybe this weekend. After sending it, I put the phone away. Night wind entered through the window and cleared my head a little. Some things still needed time to digest. On Saturday morning, Serena arrived 10 minutes earlier than the agreed time. She wore a simple dress and light makeup. She looked much better than the last time I saw her. Owen opened the door. When he saw her, he became flustered. Master's wife, then he quickly corrected himself. Ms. Lin. Just call me Serena. She walked into the studio and looked around. The warehouse had already been renovated. The walls were painted white. Wood flooring had been laid. Work area, display area, and reception area were clearly divided. It looked much more proper than before. Where is Liam? In the backyard carving. Owen pointed to the rear door. Master said you can go straight over when you arrive. She crossed the warehouse and pushed open the back door. She saw me sitting beneath the pomegranate tree in the courtyard. In my hand was a palm-sized piece of wood. I was carving a rabbit. Beside me were 2 chairs. One was occupied by me. The other was empty. Sit. I did not raise my head. She sat beside me and quietly watched my knife rise and fall. Wood shavings fell onto my apron, then slid to the ground. You changed, she suddenly said. When you carved in the past, your brows were always furrowed. Now you look relaxed. Before, I had to sneak around to carve. Now I carve whenever I want. I put down the knife and handed her the half-finished piece. What do you think? She accepted it and gently touched the rabbit's round ears. Cute. It's for a client's child's birthday. She handed it back and stayed silent for several seconds. Liam, I came today because I wanted to tell you something. Go ahead. Everyone in the company knows about Marcus now. She took a deep breath. The board asked me to fire everyone connected to him. I did. But then I discovered, she paused. Her gaze rested on the wood in my hand. I discovered many other problems. Chaotic accounts. Bad hiring decisions. Loose management. I spent too little time on these things before. So what do you plan to do? Clean it up. Her tone was firm. From top to bottom. Do you need my help? She froze. You're willing to help me? Not helping you. I picked up the knife and continued carving the rabbit's whiskers. I'm helping the people in your company who work seriously. If you can't manage it well, they suffer with you. She looked at me. Something moved in her eyes. Liam, sometimes I think, don't think. I interrupted her calmly. What happened in the past is useless no matter how much you think about it. Look forward. She took a deep breath and nodded. Good. Look forward. That afternoon, we sat beneath the pomegranate tree and talked for a long time. She told me about the company's troubles. I told her about the studio's plans. Sometimes there was silence. Sometimes we looked at each other and smiled lightly. When she left, she stopped at the door and looked back. Liam, you're really doing well now. That's good. Then she turned and left. I stood at the door and watched her walk into the alley. Her figure disappeared in the sunset. Owen leaned over, hesitant. Master, do you still care about her? Not care, exactly. I closed the door. But the hatred is gone too. That's enough. At dusk, I sat at the workbench and picked up the knife. The wood had changed to a large piece of high-quality rosewood that Boss Zhang delivered yesterday. I planned to carve a new piece. It had no name yet. But I already had the idea. A phoenix spreading its wings from ashes. Unlike the eagle, the phoenix did not need a cliff to be reborn. It only needed fire. And I had already burned. The blade fell. Wood shavings flew. Outside the window, the lights of Old Street came on one by one. The sounds of the night market drifted over from afar, warm with life. I smiled slightly and lowered my head to keep carving. That phoenix took me 21 days. For 21 days, I refused all orders and pushed away every dinner invitation. Even when Mr. Wang called, I dismissed him with one sentence, I'm busy. Every morning I entered the studio. Every late night I left. Aside from eating and sleeping, my mind held only the blade and the wood. The phoenix's tail feathers were the hardest. Especially that layered, floating feeling. One wrong cut, and the entire feather would be ruined. I ruined 3 pieces of material. Only with the 4th did I enter the right state. Owen watched in fear every day, bringing me tea and water, afraid I would destroy the whole piece with one mistake. Master, rest for a while. You've been working 16 hours straight. No need. I did not lift my head. Last feather. The blade cut diagonally. Wood shavings spun as they fell. The phoenix's tail feathers glowed warmly beneath the light. Every feather had just the right curve. As if a breeze could make it sway. I put down the knife and released a long breath. Done. Owen leaned in, stared for a long time, and suddenly inhaled sharply. Master, what? The phoenix's eyes, they look alive. I smiled and said nothing. I only reached out and gently stroked the phoenix's raised neck. The wood felt slightly cool. The grain was delicate like silk. Some works become products after they are finished. Some works become life. This phoenix belonged to the latter. That night, I took a photo and posted it on Moments. The caption had only 2 words, rebirth. In less than half an hour, likes passed 100. Comments filled the screen. Mr. Wang was the first to call. How much? I won't bargain. Not for sale. I leaned back in my chair. This one is for myself. You brat, fine. He laughed helplessly. When will you take orders again? Next week. Let clients line up first. I'm resting for 2 days. Good. Rest well. After hanging up, I showered, changed into clean clothes, and went outside. Old Street's night market was lively. The smell of cumin drifted from barbecue stalls. A candied haw seller carried his straw target through the street. I walked into a noodle shop I often visited and ordered a bowl of beef noodles. The boss recognized me and enthusiastically added 2 extra spoonfuls of beef. Master Li. I saw that phoenix. Incredible. Thank you. This bowl is on me. No, for business, money that should be collected must be collected. I placed the money on the table and ate. The broth was hot. The beef was tender. I sweated as I ate. People at the next table whispered, that's Liam Li, right? The Gold Award winner? Yes. I heard he was also recognized as an inheritor. So young. I pretended not to hear and focused on the noodles. After eating, I walked along the street for a while. The night breeze was comfortable. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Mr. Liam Li? I'm from the Provincial Arts and Crafts Association. The voice was polite and clear. Congratulations on being recognized as a city-level intangible cultural heritage inheritor. We would like to invite you to next month's Provincial Arts and Crafts exhibition as a special guest exhibitor. Special guest exhibitor? Who will attend? We selected 20 representative inheritors from across the province. You are one of them. There will also be national-level judges present. Outstanding participants will have the chance to apply for provincial intangible cultural heritage status. I stood under the streetlight and looked at the distant night sky. Good. I'll go. Wonderful. We'll send the detailed arrangements to your email. After hanging up, I stood there for a long time. Provincial Arts and Crafts Exhibition. National-level judges. Provincial Intangible Cultural Heritage Project. These were words I had only heard from my father before. Now they had truly landed on me. I opened my photo album and found a picture of my father. It was an old yellowed photo. He sat at the old house entrance, holding a carving knife and grinning at the camera. Sunlight fell across his face. His wrinkles were deep like knife marks. "Dad," I whispered. "Your son is going to the provincial exhibition. Don't worry. I won't disgrace you." Moonlight fell on the stone slabs of Old Street, giving off a faint white glow. I took a deep breath and turned back toward the apartment. Tomorrow was another new day. And there was more wood waiting for me to carve. The Provincial Arts and Crafts Exhibition was held at the Provincial Capital's Convention Center. It was more than 3 times larger than the city exhibition. One day early, I brought the Phoenix and the Eagle to the provincial capital. Mr. Wang specially sent a business van to escort the works. Owen insisted on coming. He said, "Master's first exhibition outside the city, I must be there." I did not stop him. The booths were uniformly arranged by the organizers. Each inheritor had an independent display area. My position was in the central zone. Beside me was an old lacquerware craftsman. Across from me was a master of June porcelain. All of them were old faces. I was the only one in my early 30s, which made me especially noticeable. On the afternoon of setup, the lacquerware master beside me walked over and looked at my booth. "Young man, you're Liam Lee. The one selected from the city?" "Yes, master. My name is Liam Lee." "I heard your father was Lee Guodong?" "Yes." He nodded. His gaze fell on the Phoenix on my table. He looked at it for a long time without speaking. Finally, he patted my shoulder. "Not bad. You have your father's shadow." The next day, the exhibition officially opened. There were twice as many visitors as the city exhibition. A line formed in front of my booth. Some took photos. Some asked questions. Some placed orders on the spot. The Phoenix and Eagle were placed in the most visible positions. The lights fell on them. Wood grain and knife marks crossed in the shadows and highlights. They looked as if they could come alive at any moment. At noon, an old man with white hair and gold-rimmed glasses walked up to my booth. 3 or 4 people followed him. One held a camera. One held a recording pen. The lacquerware master beside me whispered, "That's a national-level judge. His surname is Su. He carries serious weight in the industry." Elder Su stood before the table. His gaze moved from the Eagle to the Phoenix. Then from the Phoenix back to the Eagle. He said nothing for a long time. The surrounding crowd quieted. Even the air seemed to freeze. "Young man." He finally spoke. "Which of these 2 works is your recent piece?" "The Phoenix." I said. "I carved it for 21 days and finished it only a few days ago." "And the Eagle?" 3 months ago." He nodded and leaned down before the Phoenix. His fingers stopped above the tail feathers. "How many types of blades did you use for this curve?" 3. I answered truthfully. "Flat knife for the general shape. Round knife for transitions. Pointed knife for fine details. Any machine assistance?" "All handmade. No machines." He straightened and looked at me. Then he said something to the people behind him. They immediately recorded it. "Liam Lee." Elder Su turned back to me. "I have seen your father's work. His 100 birds facing the Phoenix is still hanging in the Provincial Museum. Your Phoenix today has his shadow. But it also has something more." "What?" "Traces of struggle." Elder Su smiled. "Your father's Phoenix was a divine bird descending from the sky. Your Phoenix flew out of fire. Both are beautiful. But the latter moves people more." My throat tightened. "Work hard." He patted my shoulder and turned away. Owen stomped his feet excitedly. "Master. A national-level judge praised you." "National level." I did not speak. I only looked at the Phoenix on the table. "Flew out of fire." He was right. That night, I received notice from the organizers, after expert review, I had been recommended as a candidate for a provincial intangible cultural heritage project. The materials had already been submitted to the Provincial Culture Department for approval. When the news returned to the city, Mr. Wang sent a voice message. His voice was hoarse, as if he had cried. "Liam, if your father were alive, he would invite the entire city to drink tonight." I sat on the hotel balcony, looking at the night view of the provincial capital. My father's photo was on my phone screen. "Dad," I whispered. "I helped you win the provincial-level recognition." The night wind carried the smell of barbecue smoke from far away. I took a deep breath. The corner of my mouth slowly lifted. 3 years at the bottom. 1 day to rise. Now, I had finally stood at the height my father once stood. Perhaps even a little farther. My phone vibrated again. A message from Serena. "I heard you were recommended for Provincial Intangible Heritage. Congratulations." For the first time, I did not hesitate long. I replied, "Thank you." A while later, she sent another message. "Are you still in the provincial capital?" "Yes. I'm also here on business. If you're free tomorrow, can we have a meal together?" I stayed silent for several seconds. In the end, I replied with one word, "Okay." Some relationships cannot go back. But they do not need to become lifelong enemies either. We had both moved forward into our own lives. Looking back once in a while was not such a terrible thing. At noon the next day, we met at a quiet Hunan restaurant. She wore professional clothes and looked neat and capable. When ordering, she deliberately chose several non-spicy dishes. She still remembered I could not eat spicy food. "How is your company now?" I picked up a bite of food. "Almost settled. The people who should leave have left. The people who should be hired are being hired." She set down her chopsticks. "The board asked me to also serve as finance director. I personally review every expense now." "Tired?" "Tired." She smiled bitterly. "But steady. I used to think that as long as someone else handled those things for me, it was fine. Now I know decisions I make myself are the only ones that don't go wrong." I nodded and did not reply. "Liam." She looked into my eyes. "Have you ever thought, in the future, can we still be friends?" I thought about it. "We can. But not now." "What do you mean?" "I mean both of us still need time." I set down my chopsticks. "You need time to straighten out your company. I need time to keep moving forward. When both of us are standing firmly, seeing each other will feel different." She stayed silent for a long time. Finally, she nodded. "You're right. Then let's wait." When we parted that day, we stood outside the restaurant. The sunlight was just right. It fell on the space between us like an invisible boundary. "Liam." She called me. The phoenix is truly beautiful." I smiled. "Thank you." When I turned and walked into the crowd, my heart had no waves. No reluctance. Some people and things pass. When they pass, they are simply past. What remains is not a wound. Only a shallow mark. A reminder that you once walked that road. That is enough. 3 months later, the approval for the Provincial Intangible Cultural Heritage Project was officially announced. That day, it was raining lightly. I stood at the entrance of my new studio. Mr. Wang and Boss Zhang had jointly helped me buy a courtyard in the suburbs. It had front and back yards. More than 300 square meters. Enough for all my tools. Enough to open a small exhibition room. Owen had brought 2 apprentices who had officially started training under him. They set off firecrackers in the yard. The crackling sound startled the swallows under the eaves into flight. I stood at the door and watched rain mingle with firecracker smoke. My heart felt unspeakably calm. My phone kept ringing. Messages came one after another. Mr. Wang sent a huge red packet. "Note, for the Intangible Heritage Master." Boss Zhang sent a voice message. His voice cracked from excitement. "Master Li. I placed your 12 Zodiac series in my store. Yesterday someone offered 2 million for the whole set. I didn't sell." Elder Lu sent a photo. It was a copy of my father's old application materials. On it was a comment written in my father's own hand, "Li Guodong, exquisite craftsmanship, inheriting the old while creating the new, truly a treasure of our city's folk arts." Under the photo, Elder Lu added one sentence, "Today, this sentence belongs to you." I stared at that photo for a long time. Then saved it to my favorites. In the afternoon, the rain stopped. Sunlight leaked through the clouds and fell on the pomegranate tree in the courtyard. I moved a chair beneath the tree. In my hand was the ancestral flat knife. Beside me was a new piece of wood. Owen ran over. "Master, what are you carving today?" "I haven't decided." "How about another phoenix? We don't lack good material now." "No," I shook my head. "I've already carved a phoenix." I picked up the wood and turned it in my hands, feeling the direction of the grain. Suddenly, an image appeared in my mind. A mountain. On the mountaintop stood a pine tree. Under the tree, a deer lowered its head to drink water. Pine meant resilience. Deer meant peace. Mountain meant roots. That was my current state. "I'll carve a mountain." "A mountain?" Owen scratched his head. "Won't that be too plain?" "Plain things last." I picked up the knife. The blade flashed in the sunlight. Flashy things become boring after 3 days. A truly good work will not bore you after 30 years. I made the first cut. Wood shavings flew in the sunlight. They looked just like the day I walked out of Serena's company. Back then, I thought the sky had collapsed. Now I understood. That was only the opening act. The real play of life had only just begun. The courtyard was quiet. Only the soft sound of the knife touching wood remained. Owen sat nearby and watched. 2 apprentices practiced basics in the backyard. The swallows had returned and perched on the pomegranate branches, tilting their heads to look at me. My phone rang again. I glanced at it. A message from Serena. "Congratulations. I saw the news about your provincial intangible heritage approval." With one hand holding the knife, I typed with the other, "Thank you. Liam, your father must be proud in heaven." I put down the phone and looked up at the sky. After rain, the sky was almost transparent blue. A few white clouds drifted slowly. "Dad," I said softly. "Look. Your son did it." In the distance, the old street clock tower struck 5 times. Golden evening light poured down and covered the entire courtyard. I lowered my head and continued carving. Moss spread along the stone steps. The deer's antlers gradually emerged from the wood. Pine branches stretched beneath my blade. The outline of that mountain slowly became clear. Just like my life. After the dark night, dawn finally came. After carving through the valley, I finally became the mountain. That's all for today's story. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment.